What if the love, validation, acceptance, approval, and all the things that we look for in relationships, what if those things don't exist outside of us? What if they've been quietly waiting inside of us the whole time? And what if relationships are not meant to complete us, but instead meant to reveal the truth of ourselves to ourselves? My name is Ed Hegan. I'm a former New York City firefighter and a mindfulness meditation guide. And today's meditation is about remembering that you are whole and complete just as you are. And that every relationship is a mirror that can reflect back to us what's already inside of us. And when we can realize this, we can stop searching and reaching to be fulfilled by other people, and instead start showing up more as our authentic selves and daring to reveal the truth of who we really are. Now, before we get into the meditation and the key points, let's take a few grounding breaths as a way of connecting more deeply to ourselves, each other, and to the present moment. Start by exhaling all the air out of your lungs. Inhale slowly through the nose. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly release. As we inhale through the nose again, let's say to ourselves, I come home to myself. Holding, I see the truth within myself. And releasing, I share that truth with the world. Inhale, I come home to myself. I see and accept the truth within me, and I share that truth with others. Inhale, I come back to myself. I honor the truth within me. I share that truth with the world. And you can relax your shoulders, your neck, your chest, your belly, and let your attention just gently rest in your heart, in your chest, in the center of your body, the centers of trust and self-worth. And we can recognize the key points when we look outside of ourselves for happiness. When we were very young, we were taught that we needed other people to survive, because we did. When the human child is born, we were required to be held and loved and fed and nurtured and nourished and protected. We wouldn't survive without it. So we cry out for attention when we're separated from the source of love and connection and nourishment, usually our mothers. And we'll cry out to be held, for that skin-to-skin contact, for that warmth, for that safety, to feel loved, as if our existence matters, as if our well-being matters, our health, to be loved and cared for, as if it matters to our survival, because it does. And I know it might sound a little odd to some people to think that our need for connection and affection is deeply and intimately and inextricably linked to this moment in our lives when we were young, dependent infants. But the truth is, our nervous systems are formed in utero while we are one with our moms. And then when we're outside, we still depend upon protection and safety and love and connection and nourishment for many years. So yes, all of our relationships, our intimate connections, our partnerships are based primarily on how we were programmed when we were very young, when we were babies. And we can see this because Relationships oftentimes reflect our fears, our wounds, but also our gifts. And what we admire sometimes in other people, it lives inside of us. And we think sometimes that we need to go outside of ourselves to feel love, approval, affection, kindness, compassion, connection. All the things that we look for outside of ourselves really live within us. Because when we have a feeling, even if that feeling is about someone else, that feeling doesn't exist outside of us. It exists inside of us. And so the very things that trigger us in others are our unhealed wounds. The places inside of us that still need some love and attention, some acknowledgement. And some of the pain points that we experience are really opportunities to learn more deeply about where we carry these wounds and how we can learn to love ourselves or connect in a way that's vulnerable enough to reveal the tenderness of those wounds. And by sharing the truth and the vulnerability of who we are, it might sound really scary, but it is an opportunity to tend to these wounds that we often try to cover with armor or protecting ourselves by putting up walls because we've been hurt in the past. Or if it's too painful to face the wound, we oftentimes will numb and distract using alcohol or food or any addiction. You know the addiction. You know what you're addicted to. You know how you try to numb, distract, repress, and suppress what you're feeling. So whatever that is, this kind of reveals where we're trying to hide the truth of ourselves. When in reality, sometimes it's by revealing the vulnerable parts of ourselves that we can actually address the wound and tend to it. And if we can address it and tend to it, we can also release it. And when we let it go, but keep the lesson, we integrate that lesson. And then we carry less armor, but we're stronger and wiser. So it's an opportunity. Let's not look at these fears and insecurities and these wounds as negative things that we need to hide, but as an opportunity for us to reveal the truth of ourselves to ourselves. And they can reveal what needs to be seen. But we can't expect that other people will complete us. Because we must remember that fundamental truth, that you are whole and complete, just as you are. You always have been, and you always will be. Remember that. And so there is an illusion in needing others. Yes, we are hardwired to connect. And yes, good, healthy human relationships are a beautiful source of connection and a healthy way of just being a human being. But sometimes we can confuse healthy connection with needing others, needing from a place of fear and desperation. See, the search for love and approval or worth outside is often rooted in our childhood wounds when we needed to feel safe and we didn't, when we needed to be loved and we weren't, or if we wanted those things and instead it was met with coldness, meanness. Maybe we were treated as if we were a burden or annoyed by the people that were caring for us. And in that way we learned that maybe we're too much, or that our feelings don't matter, or that we don't matter. And if you've been taught that from a very young age, I'm sorry. It wasn't your fault. It really wasn't. And a great way to understand this is to recognize that the very person that you turn to for love, safety, and protection was also wounded. They were also abused and overlooked and neglected, and couldn't really show up for you in the ways that you needed. And that doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you to understand that it wasn't personal towards you, even though it felt like that, because they should have done better, but they weren't capable of it. By recognizing that truth, you can kind of offer some forgiveness, not to excuse bad behavior, but to free yourself from giving your power away and having the opportunity to heal this wound at a fundamental level. So you don't need to carry the weight anymore, brother. You don't. It's not your responsibility. And when we seek to be chosen by people, or we seek that validation from another person, it's usually because we haven't chosen and prioritized ourselves. Oftentimes we can be seen as people pleasers, or we can be seen as someone who will bend and contort themselves into different ways of being to try to seek the love, validation, and approval that they didn't get, instead of being honest about what we really want and need: to be loved and seen and heard and understood and cared for and included, and to belong, which is something that we all want to feel. But external validation cannot fix this internal disconnection. So if we have an internal disconnection, it cannot be fixed no matter how many connections we have outside of ourselves. You can have healthy external connections, but it can only truly be healthy in the sense that the internal connection that you have with yourself is already strong and foundational. Because then you can turn to a person not out of need or desperation, but out of choice. That you welcome someone into your world to see the truth of who you are, not because you're afraid that you're incomplete, but because you want to reveal the truth of who you are, to deepen that connection with yourself and other people. And true intimacy really begins when both people realize that they are whole and complete as they are. And when we stop turning toward each other to look to fix each other, or to point the finger of blame at each other. You did this, and you made me feel this way, and because you did this, I feel this way, and all these. That is us simply refusing to look in the mirror at ourselves. And this idea of mirroring and recognizing that when we look at another person, they will reveal back to us things. And a lot of the times, in the first parts of love, people are in that in-love phase. It feels really good because both people are mirroring and reflecting back to each other things that feel good and look good. But if two people decide to continue to stay and become mirrors for each other, well, watch out, because the wounds will be revealed. The blemishes, the warts, the soft white underbelly, the tenderness, the vulnerability will be revealed. And in those moments, we will have the choice to either point the finger of blame and contempt and resentment to try to hold other people responsible for how we feel, or we learn to look in the mirror and say thank you for showing me the truth of where I hold myself back, of where I'm wounded, of where I need to tend to and see the unloved self that needs some love and some tenderness. And we can't seek that love and tenderness from outside. We have to seek it for ourselves. So when we notice the mirror holds up to us a reflection that we don't like, if the wound is revealed to us, we can say thank you for revealing this lesson, the truth of what I'm really experiencing. Thank you for helping me to look inside and see where I need to do work. And if we can dare to take ownership over that, if we can dare to look into that mirror, and if we can dare to be vulnerable and reveal ourselves, we can repair that wound and we can release some of the heaviness we've been carrying and move forward in a healthier way. And in that way, we reclaim our wholeness. And to recognize that you are already whole, that you are not missing anything, that you've just simply forgotten that the strength, the wisdom, the love, the peace you seek, it's already within you. It's always been there. When someone loves you and you feel these things, the feelings that you're feeling are inside of you. They're not outside of you. So we can simply see that the truth is, the feelings that we're looking for are already within us. And you're not here in a connection with another person to get something from another person. You're here to share who you are with them. And the truth is, what we are called to share is the truth of what we are. We are being called to dare to reveal the divine truth of who we are. Because yes, we are very much the same. We're all part of creation, God, whatever the source, whatever you want to call it, whatever brought us here. But no matter what you think of that source of creation, it created you and I as unique individuals. Why? Why would we be different? Why would we be unique? Why? Brothers and sisters, this uniqueness, this divinity is calling us to look within and dare to reveal the truth of who we are. And the truth is, if someone is going to love you for who you are, then that's the feeling that we all want. But if we have to always pretend to be something that we're not, to be loved, quote unquote loved, well then others in the world are not loving the truth of who you are. They're simply loving a version of you that you put together thinking it would be more lovable. Would you rather have the whole world love you for being an imposter? Or would you rather dare to be vulnerable and be loved for the truth of who you are? Sit with that one. Because every relationship is a chance to express the truth of who you are and not try to prove your worth to someone else or try to pretend to be something you're not to get love. Putting these energy into trying to convince other people we're worthy of love is exhausting. If we are constantly trying to pretend to be something we're not to get love, we will burn out and never be loved for the truth of who we are. Living and loving from authenticity is a powerful way to honor ourselves and the divine nature within us. Is when you know who you are, you stop performing, you stop acting, you can love without grasping, without desperation, without neediness. You can give to others without losing yourself because you know who you are and you know what you're worth. And you set the tone. Meaning if you want love, affection, respect, appreciation, well, my question to you would be, how do you love, cherish, respect, and appreciate yourself? Because you kind of set that tone energetically. If you don't set that tone for yourself, no one's going to come along magically and start treating you in these ways magically. But if you treat yourself with kindness, love, respect, appreciation, and you genuinely have a healthy relationship with yourself, if someone comes in and treats you anything less than that, you'll automatically know, and you'll simply refuse to be treated like that. Because you'll know your worth. Because you get to determine your worth. Nobody else does. You become that mirror of truth. And you teach other people how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. And another beautiful aspect of this is that we get to be really vulnerable without the fear that it won't be accepted. Because we can just simply be the truth of what we are without worry. And when you become a mirror of the truth, it also gives other people permission to reveal themselves fully too. And in that way, just daring to be yourself is a beautiful gift that we can offer to each other. And so when we start to recognize the divine within, you start to recognize that you're not broken. You are a divine spark having a human story in a human body. But when you see that divinity within you, and you start to see it in others, and you start to see that we're all part of creation, you start to treat yourself a little differently. And then you start to treat others more differently. We start to treat other people the way that we want to be treated. Or recognize that how we treat other people is a reflection of how we treat ourselves. And so Sharing that authentic self is a sacred act of service and purpose for us to reveal the divinity within ourselves, give other people permission to see it, and also encourage them to do the same thing. And in that way, vulnerability is not a weakness. It's divine courage and purpose and meaning. And you get to show up as the truth of who you are. And so showing up as a real person is an invitation for others to do the same and come home to themselves. And so just understand that you don't need to be completed by anybody else. You need to remember who you are, that every person you meet is a mirror. Every relationship you have is an opportunity, is a teacher. What are the lessons we can learn? And when we stop grasping to be filled, and we instead start offering ourselves the gift of our own truth, this becomes our purpose. This becomes our power. And this is the divine gift that we offer to the world. And if you're not sure how to reveal your vulnerabilities or tap into your authentic self, or you want to explore what it means to dare to share the truth of who you are with the world, you can reach out for a free consultation call at edwoodstock.com. And if you want to receive a custom guided meditation, you can just send me a DM and we can create something that'll help you to really investigate and honor the truth of who you are and dare to reveal yourself to yourself and to share that truth with the world. And in this way, there's an opportunity to deepen our connection with ourselves, each other, and this life experience. And it's a great way to practice the self-care necessary to live a healthy, connected life. So, be sure to take care of yourself and each other.